everybody. This is Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay, creator of the Mighty Mascots, and promoter for the Plastic City Comic-Con. And I'm back with another comic review. Before I get into that, just a reminder, Plastic City Comic-Con happening July 20th. $10 admission, kids 12 and under for free parking from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Over 150 tables of artists, writers, crafters, comic vendors, retailers, everything you could ever hope to find will be at this show. So check it out. Also go to heroenvy.com you can check out my comic books, Mighty Mascots, and a bunch of other ones. And also you can check out my lettering section if you need a professional letterer for your next comic project. All right, now let's get into the review. I'm reviewing Nacelleverse issue 0. This is put out by Oni Press. The writer on this is Melissa Flores. The artist, there's 4 different artists on this. This is one is Ramat Hendoko. Roald, I think is how you say it. Roald Marcellius, Francis Portela, and Diogenesis Neves. And I apologize if I butchered any of that because I am horrible with names. So apologies to all of you guys. The colorist is João Canola, and the letterer is Taylor Esposito from Ghost Cliff. All right. Yeah, so this is the reboot of a bunch of 80s Saturday morning cartoon properties all put under one roof called the Nacelleverse. Now, let me read the description of this, and then we'll get into all the properties that are involved in this, which is kind of interesting. Some you may have heard of. Some I know when I was looking at it, I've heard about a bunch of these, but I don't remember if I've ever seen any of them, except for maybe sectaurs. But here we go. Let me read the description of this issue. It's: when his planet is annihilated by a cosmic disaster, the great garloo must begin a galaxy-spanning search for a place to call home, only to discover a bold new universe of champions waiting amongst the stars. From the genetically modified Sectorian warriors of Symbion to the rabble-rousing biker mice from Mars, Garloo's quest for safe haven will hurtle him on a one-way collision course toward the 22nd century Earth, where the obsolete robotic wrecking crew called RoboForce is about to forge a new destiny. So that was Nacelleverse 0, number 1, or number 0. And so this kind of acts, if you had any interest in these old 80s properties coming back in comic book form, and I think they're planning on doing some animated series as well. This is a great introduction to all of them, because the way the story is structured, the Great Garloo, which also used to be a gigantic toy from the 60s or 70s, from Mark's Toys. So they must have bought the property and brought it over to Nacelle. And I remember it was just a giant creature thing. I had never heard of it until Howard Stern talks about it every once in a while, how it was like the toy that he wanted the most when he was a kid, and then when he finally got it, it was like terrible, but it's funny. I was a kid around the time Garloo was coming out, but I think it was more famous with kids younger than me, so I don't remember it being around, and I don't remember ever seeing it until like later in life, so. But it's interesting that the story is kind of told through his point of view as he kind of jumps from planet to planet. He's trying to get home. I think an asteroid is about to destroy his planet or something like that, and he gets introduced to a bunch of different properties of the Nacelleverse, So now the different IPs that are involved in this, which is kind of cool. So I'll go through them real quick. So we got RoboForce, which I was not familiar with, but when I saw pictures of them, they did look kind of familiar. So I don't know if I saw the toys when I was a kid or what. The second one is Biker Mice from Mars. Now, I remember that being around, and I don't remember watching it. And it was like one of the many millions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ripoffs that were happening in the 80s. And I just never watched that one. And but I was aware of it. It's kind of like Samurai Cats and all that other stuff. Sectaurs, Warriors of Symbion is probably the only one that I did kind of know. I know I've watched a few episodes of the cartoon, and I also remember getting the comic that I believe was put out by Marvel's imprint. I remember picking up some of those books. The next property was The Great Garloo from Mark's Toys. Then there's also the Cowboys of Moo Mesa, which I was not aware of that one. Looks like another potential TMNT homage, I guess, or a ripoff, if you want to call it that. And then the final one was Power Lords. And I remember Power Lords, but I remember the toy more than I do remember the show. So it's interesting that all kind of properties that don't really mix together, but they found a way to put them together, which is kind of cool. Just had them on different planets, and, all the stories that kind of strung together by Garloo visiting these planets. So the Zero issue is kind of a great barometer for you if you want to check it out and see which ones that you may be interested in, or you may not be interested in them all. But I got to tell you, as a fan of the 80s, I really like seeing a lot of this stuff in print. The artwork changed a bunch through the issue, and I believe it's because they're planning on putting out miniseries of all of these properties. And I believe like the artists on each section is going to be one of the artists for the miniseries. So they have a big checklist in the back. So you start with Nacelle Zero, and then the next miniseries that comes out is RoboForce. So they're going to do 3 issues of RoboForce, and then they're going to launch right into Biker Mice and Mars. They're going to do 3 issues there. Then Sectaurs, 3 issues there, and then Power Lords, 3 issues there. And that's going to take us all the way into next year. They're also doing toys. They're developing an animated series, I believe, for RoboForce. And then also, I think they're also trying to do another animated series. I was looking through here. Yes, they're trying to do Biker Mice from Mars as well. So with Ryan Reynolds behind that as one of the executive producers, and then the RoboForce has Dwayne Johnson behind it as an executive producer. I wasn't familiar with the Nacelleverse, but as soon as I started looking into them, then I was like, oh my God, it's these guys. So if you ever had on Netflix, they had the Toys That Made Us and the Movies That Made Us. This production company is the one that snatched up all these licenses for, and then put them all under this Nacelleverse label. So it's the people that made the Toys That Made Us and the Movies That Made Us, which I didn't know. I guess they produce a bunch of comedy specials and other documentary type videos, and they got books, they got toys, they got their hands in a lot of stuff. The other thing I was surprised about was Oni Press being involved with, well, not really that surprised, but Oni Press in recent years seemed to be more of like an indie company that would, put out mostly personal projects, and kind of stayed away from superhero books and things like that. But then I remembered after this, I mean, Oni Press was founded on licensed books. The very first comic they ever produced was a Clerks one shot by Kevin Smith, based off the Clerks movie. So I'm like, and then they also had the license for Invader Zim and then Rick and Morty. So they do have their fingers into the IP stuff. So it's kind of cool that they're putting it out through through Oni Press, and the quality of the books are really nice. The papers, like that glossy kind of print, and it has like the cardstock covers, and it just looks very nice. And all the artists that they got for the Nacelleverse Zero one shot all have a nice cartoony, like a superhero cartoony kind of look to it, which is really cool. It helps you sell that animated kind of look to it. I think it's great. I like seeing all these properties come back. The writer on this, Melissa Flores, I wasn't familiar with her, so I took a look into her history. And I guess she is the writer on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So it kind of makes sense, bringing her into the mix and creating, like, you're bringing back resurrecting all these 80s properties, Now, I would recommend this, especially if you're a fan of the 80s. I feel like the Energon universe has kind of jump-started a bunch of these other comic properties that are coming back, which is, I'm kind of happy about. Dynamite's doing a bunch of them. And then also Mad Cave has a couple. I'm really excited about a bunch of these cartoons coming back. It's kind of like 80s all over again, I just hope most of them stay good. That's the only thing I'm worried about, And as far as like if I'm gonna pick up more of these, I thought the Zero issue was okay. I it's like basically just an introduction to everything. I may have to just pick up number ones of each of them and see if I like the actual properties. I know I'll probably get all of Sectaurs, and I might check out RoboForce as well. And then the other ones I may just buy the number one, see if I like them, and then continue based on that, whether the first issue sells me or not, So, but yeah, no, I'd say it's solid. If you are missing Saturday morning cartoons, you may want to give this one a go. Your mileage may vary, depending on if you know these properties or not, but I don't know. I'd say give it a shot, see if you like it, and then see if you can, tap into that old that little kid inside of you that remembers all the Saturday morning getting up with the bowl of cereal and watching cartoons. If you can get in touch with that, I think you'll like this book. So, and like I said, solid work all around by the artist and writer and letterers and everything. It's could be a strong universe to contend with. So, all right. So check it out, everybody. All right. That's it for this review. Sorry, I did 2 reviews this week. I was getting behind on the books that I wanted to review. I still have another one over here that I've been wanting to review too. So I figured I'd do 2 this week and then, start focusing back, maybe do some more process stuff and then our live stream is back on our bi-weekly schedule. So we'll be back every other Monday, starting with this coming Monday. So check us out. All right, everybody, have a great week. Subscribe, like the video, share it with anybody you might know. And we will be back next Monday. Till then, have a great week. And most importantly, read some comics. All right, everybody. Goodbye, and we'll talk to you later.